listening to Community Forum on KCCC 930 AM, sponsored by Eddy County, honoring God, country, and family, thriving with industry since 1889.
Thank you for listening to Community Forum. My name's Johnny Chandler. I'm the owner of KCCC 930 AM, the host of Community Forum. With me today, it's been a little while, but we're glad to have her back. Christina Mann, who's we call the Bee Lady. Glad you're back.
Hi there.
How you doing?
Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's been a few months, hasn't it?
It's been more like a year.
Has it been a whole year? I was going to say 6 months. I mean, I was being generous when I said 3 months, but I was going to say 6, but I'll call it a year.
Yeah. I'm still the Bee Lady.
Yes, you are.
Olivia Salcido gave me that name.
Well, it's a fitting one for sure. Nobody knows more about bees and I think the wildlife that's in our community more than you.
Actually, coming out of college in 1981, I actually worked for the Department of Agriculture in entomology. That wasn't my area of study, but...
Okay, entomology, is that frogs?
No, that's herpetology.
Oh, herpetology. Okay, well, I'm definitely not an expert in any of that, so
Entomology is the study of insects.
Oh, the study of insects. So do you have a favorite insect?
No, I'm not thrilled about insects.
I mean, they are called bugs for a reason. Like, it's pretty obvious where we got the name bugs from because they bug you.
They do, but Hemiptera, the beetle, is the only true bug.
Why is that?
It's a misnomer. Bug only refers to beetles in the genus Hemiptera. Don't quote me on that.
Okay, so then, so all these other bugs, like, let's think, for example, a dragonfly.
Insects.
Okay, insects, but we call them bugs.
And well, you call them bugs.
Well, most of the world calls them bugs. I mean, it's not like I can say otherwise. So I want to ask you a question since we're talking about insects and the one bug, right? As I just learned, there's only one bug.
Yeah,
but,
and it's a beetle.
It's a beetle. That's interesting. So, but are there more or less insects nowadays than there used to be?
That's a good question.
Well,
I wish I had the answer.
I feel like there could be less, but man, there's a ton still, right? So roaches are insects then?
Yes.
They're not bugs?
No.
Okay, spider's an insect. It's not a bug?
A spider is an arachnid.
Oh, okay. Do you wish that the population knew more about this, or are you comfortable with everybody calling them bugs?
I do catch on it mentally. Like buzzards.
Right.
What is a buzzard?
It's a bird, right?
Is it a vulture?
Well, I would say yes, it's a vulture.
No, it's not. A buzzard is found only in England, and it's a raptor.
That's a raptor, right? So we don't have buzzards here. What do we have here then?
We have vultures.
We have vultures.
Turkey vultures.
Right. So if you have a vulture circling you while you're walking through the desert, should you be worried?
No.
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 They're not going to come and eat you until you're already gone.
They're patient.
They're patient hunters, aren't they?
They're not hunters, they're scavengers.
Scavengers, okay, right. So they don't hunt. Something else hunts, and then they scavenge what's left over. Right. I think that's way easier than being a hunter. Especially if you're not picky like them. You can eat whatever you want.
I'm a big game hunter.
Well, I know. I'm talking about in the animal world.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll move on from that one. So you are known as the Bee Lady.
Correct.
So it's been a while since we've had you on. What's going on with the bees?
Oh, they're getting worse all the time.
Worse in which way?
Eddy County is virtually 100% killer bees now.
So there's no European bees left?
You can occasionally, I found a few in Artesia.
But it's only a matter of time before they're wiped out, right, by the killer bees?
Yeah. Yeah, they don't really hybridize as everyone thinks they do or says they do, or they're too lazy to learn about them. Forgive me.
I've seen some wasps around this year so far, right? And I can't figure out where the wasp nest is because it's not on my property.
There's quite a few wasps this year.
Right.
There's yellow wasps. And I got called by the sheriff's department out to Slaughter Cave
Where-
in mid-March.
Where's Slaughter Cave at?
It's south of Washington Ranch.
Okay.
So I got an emergency call that an 11-year-old girl was trapped by killer bees in a bathroom. And I talked to the dispatcher, and I said, really, a lot of those wasps like to have nests inside the tubes of the toilet paper.
Oh, really?
And I said, I believe I told her to tell the girl not to look at them and just don't be afraid. Now, you tell someone don't be afraid, and
Well, then you're going to, you put the word in their head.
it doesn't really work. But the dispatcher was really outstanding. She talked that little girl out of the bathroom and without getting stung.
Did you have to go check it out at all? Did you go down there and look at it? So was there a lot of wasps down there?
There was easily clouds of 20, 30, and they were all in the air tubes coming out of the restroom.
Right. The ventilation tubes.
Yeah, they're like 10, 15 feet high. I couldn't do anything about that.
So the yellow wasps are called yellow jackets. Is that
No.
that's not the slang term for them?
No, they're yellow wasps, and I don't know the scientific name, but there's a lot this year.
What's a yellow jacket?
They're striped, just another species of wasp. And we really don't have many of them around here.
Are yellow wasps aggressive?
Not really.
No, they'll leave you alone if you leave them alone?
No, and their nests, you never see more than 10.
Okay. Is that, so they stop at 10 and then somebody else moves on and they start one somewhere else?
10 or so.
10 or so, right.
And they have multiple queens in the nest.
Wow. So not like European bees where there's only one queen.
Correct.
Right. So they have multiple queens. And the queens get along or what?
I guess.
Well, obviously they do.
They don't pollinate trees and flowers.
So how do they eat then?
Just like a honeybee, they've got mandibles. They suck up nectar.
But they don't help things grow.
But they don't pollinate because they have no hairs on their bodies.
So is that just like a pointless insect?
I wouldn't say any insect is pointless.
Well, so what does it do then? What do they do besides like terrorize little kids in bathrooms?
I don't know. You'd have to ask God.
Okay, yeah, right. It's like they're here for a reason, right? So staying on the wasp topic, I find this quite fascinating. Are they part of the bee family? Like, are they part of that family at all?
No.
No. Then what family would they be a part of?
Apis is the genus of honeybees.
Okay.
And solitary bees have a different genus. And I don't think they're in that family. Now, you got to understand, I was Department of Agriculture in 81.
Right.
Last century.
When the late 1900s, right? Don't you love those shirts that the kids are wearing or like adults wear? Be like, cut me a break. I was born in the late 1900s, right? Those are good ones.
I haven't seen them.
Well, so if this makes you feel any better, I don't assume it will. That's why I'm going to mention it. You graduated college 2 years after I was born.
Oh.
So I was born in 1979.
Okay.
Right.
Graduated high school in 75.
Well, I assumed you did before you graduated college, so I was like, that makes a difference. So the killer bees. Let's get back to the killer bees. Actually, no, I want to talk about the wasp for a second again. Do you encourage people, if there's a wasp nest on their house, to kill it?
It's kind of up to them. There's a danger there. People can be allergic to wasp venom. It's different from bee venom. It's up to them. I don't like wasps nesting right outside my front door.
No, it feels like they terrorize you. It feels like they pick on you, right? They don't feel like one of those insects where if you ignore them, they'll go away. They feel like that. And then, if you have a swimming pool in the backyard, they seem to be attracted to the water as well. And so that's kind of an issue. My niece was stung swimming in our pool.
Uh,
Tough as you could be, though, man.
my
She
neighbor
really stuck
just
it out.
put it in an in-ground pool,
Yeah.
and he's within shotgun range. So I have to be very careful. I provide water troughs for my bees,
Right.
and they have bubblers,
Mm-hmm.
and they also have cut pieces of pool noodles for
Right.
the bees to land on.
Right. Yeah. Right. They got to land on something, and then then the pool noodle kind of soaks up some of the water, so they can easily drink some water as well. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
But I have to be very careful that my bees don't trespass on his property,
Well,
except
how are you
that-
going to do that?
well, I have to maintain good bees.
Okay, because they are going to fly around beyond your backyard, I assume.
Right.
All right.
But he's got nothing but pecan trees and grass.
Well, that sounds like a very enticing environment for bees, if you ask me.
Why?
I don't know. So they can fly on some leaves and rest?
What pollinates pecans?
I have no idea. That's
The
good.
wind.
Oh, that's a wind-driven pollination, huh?
Right.
So bees obviously flowers and crops and stuff like that we get, but,
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you worked for the U.S. Department of Agriculture when you graduated college in 1981.
Correct.
Two years after I was born, as we mentioned already. Just to throw that in there again. But before we started recording, you mentioned something very interesting to me about bee inspection. So the U.S. Department of Agriculture does inspect bees in most states in the country.
That's right. I just saw a guy inspecting in Colorado, and yet they don't do a thing here in New Mexico.
Okay, so the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA for short, moving on from now, does not do bee inspections in the state of New Mexico.
As far as I know,
Okay,
no.
all right. And why do you think that is?
Politics.
Politics. So then let's get into the idea of what the USDA is doing or why they are inspecting bees at all.
They inspect for varroa mite, especially the big commercial operations.
And that's a fungus or disease that will kill the
That's a
bees?
parasite that attaches to bees when they're pupating, and mainly the drones, the larger bees, and it can kill colony.
Okay. So when they identify this, they go and then save the bees, basically, right? They eradicate this parasite, and then hopefully that bee colony can survive.
Well, when they're checking out commercial
Right.
beekeepers, they tell them to either cull that colony or treat it with oxalic acid, and then they'll come back and re-inspect, make sure that it doesn't become epidemic.
Okay. All right. So, but they don't do that in the state of New Mexico, as far as you know.
As far as I know.
Do we have any commercial bee operations here in the state of New Mexico, like big bee farms?
Yes, we do up in Beeland.
And where?
Beeland.
We have bee land. We have a place called bee land.
Belen.
Oh, okay, because I was like, I know a lot about New Mexico, and I've never heard of that.
How do you say it?
I would say you would say Beland.
Belen.
Belen, New Mexico.
Okay.
The Spanish word for Bethlehem. That's what Belen stands for. It means Bethlehem in Spanish. Belen is
Okay.
Belen is a Spanish word, just like Las Lunas, which is right next to it, is the moon, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we don't think about it. You take these words for granted because we're such a Spanish-English community that, like, Spanish words feel like normal English words now, in my opinion.
We're Carlsbad, but we used to be the town of Eddy after the founder.
Yeah, I do know. Yeah, I do know that we were. Our foundings had nothing to do with the Spanish necessarily, but that's
Sadly.
well. That's and I would agree with you there, but that's a result of the Spanish and the way that they migrated through the state. They went up the Rio Grande Valley, the Mid Rio Grande Valley, and there's a pretty large mountain chain between the Middle Rio Grande Valley and us, and so it would have been more difficult for them to migrate over here.
Right.
Right. And so we ended up getting more of the Texas migration and the Texas culture. Right. One thing that this is way off topic, but one thing that fascinates me about Carlsbad is the idea that we obviously know that there were Native Americans in this part of the state. Right. And you have the Mescalero Apache Reservation outside of Ruidoso. Right.
Correct.
But we essentially have almost zero Native American history anywhere here in our community. It's not showcased anywhere. I don't see anything about it. and then help me understand where it is, if it is here, because I don't hear a lot. Because when I lived in Albuquerque for a long time. The state has 22 pueblos, right? 2 reservations,
Yeah.
right? And that the Native American and the Native Americans currently in Native American history is very prominent in a lot of what they do all the time. And I don't hear any of it down here. That's where I'm getting my information from. It's my observations.
Well, you don't get outdoors much, do you?
Yeah, show me, tell me. Well, Sitting Bull Falls, right? Duh, Sitting Bull Falls. But that has that was where their last stand before they were done. You know what I mean? So, like, tell me where I could go and I could see like a museum or a statue or something that commemorates Native American history in this part of the state.
I've picked up arrowheads around town
That's cool.
and photograph them and then put them back. You know,
It's the eastern part of the state is just a lot different than the middle part of the state, right?
it is.
It's true. It's not a negative. I'm just saying that it is a lot different, right? And the Native American history and the Native Americans that settled, that were in our state on the west side of the Rio Grande mountain chain, it's just more prominent, right? It's just more prominent. It's spoken of more, and there's a much larger Native population in general than there is over here.
I know a couple Indians around town.
Now, I don't know if I've ever. I'm not sure that I've ever met one personally, but
Okay.
and I'm around quite a bit, so I'm looking for it. Basically, what I'm talking about is I'm kind of looking for it. You know what I mean? I was like, where is the statue or a commemorative plaque or something that states what the Native Americans did down in this part of the state before what happened before what ultimately ended up happening to them? Where is that here?
Maybe in Guadalupe Park.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, fair enough. They didn't. The mountains make a lot of sense. That was way left field comment. That was not a negative comment, but way left field from what we're talking about. I did want to get into, and I know you mentioned before we started recording, we did talk about the bee inspections. What would have to be done to get the USDA in New Mexico doing bee inspections?
Well, first they have to admit that killer bees are different species from European bees.
And there's some people out there that do not believe they're different species?
Oh, you look it up on the website right now. Our inspector that does, well, a lot of people put down that the killer bees are a subspecies of Apis mellifera, the European bee, and they're just not. I'm
Okay, a bee is a bee is a bee. What do you have to say to that?
baloney.
All right, so killer bees do pollinate, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
they're
so
very good pollinators.
Okay.
They're crappy honey makers.
Okay, so their honey is subpar.
Well, they don't make much of it. They turn all their resources into making more bees. And the numbers, when you encounter killer bee colony, they're just outstanding. I mean, it's amazing.
So how, being the bee expert that you are, right, for every colony of honeybees, how many more killer bees would you have, right, on a ratio of, like, let's say that a honeybee, like how many bees do honeybees make, right, in an average season? Is that asking too much? So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm not sure what you're asking.
all right, so let me ask you this. So a honeybee colony is like, what's the average size of a honeybee colony then?
European or killer?
European.
Africanized.
We're starting with honeybees.
Okay. 5,000 is a good European
Okay.
colony.
So for every 5,000 European honeybee colonies, how many killer bees would there be?
25 to 30,000.
That is what, 3-4 times the amount, right? And then so they populate more, which means more queens can be created, and then they go and create even more and more. Like, I don't know any of this. That's what I'm asking you.
More guard bees.
Guard bees?
Guard bees.
Right.
See, the bees go through a caste system from hatching into a nurse bee and then a wax maker, and then they guard the entrance.
Right.
and then they become foragers. These are the worker bees, and then they die. And well, they become water gatherers toward the end of their 6 weeks of life
So,
in the summer.
so killer bees live 6 weeks as well.
European and Africanized both.
So they live the same time. So there's no difference there.
Approximately 6 weeks in the summertime.
Okay, and then
Now the amazing thing is that they change into fat-bodied bees over winter. In the late fall, they change, and the queen lays a different kind of worker bee. They kick out all the male bees; they're gone, and they hatch out as winter bees, and they live 3 months. They get them through winter.
because they don't really do anything over the winter, right? They just kind of get fat and then hang out,
They
right?
keep the queen warm, and if there's any brood, which there usually is with killer bees, and there never is with European bees.
What word did you just use?
Sorry. This seldom is with European bees.
Would you use what word did you use?
Brood.
Brood. Okay. Explain that.
Hatching young.
Oh, okay.
Pupa. I'm
You're
sorry?
using a lot of words that I don't understand or I don't know about, but I appreciate the official terminology.
Okay. I apologize.
No, that's fine. So, as you mentioned early on in the beginning, there's a few European bee colonies left in Eddy County.
I did 27 removals last year, and 3 of them from Artesia were good ones.
Right. So you killed off the killer bees,
Yeah.
right? Because you got to get rid of them.
Everyone.
But they populate so much, it's like a losing battle.
It's, yeah,
Okay.
but I can't quit.
Well, who else is going to do it if you don't?
Exactly. It's been 2 weeks since I got a call, but I was called out to the Christian Prep Academy. They had a huge swarm in their trees on the play yard,
Yeah.
and there were 2 queens in it.
So that's honeybees or killer bees?
Killer bees.
Killer bees. So you took care of them for us,
I killed every one of them.
right? And so remind me how you kill killer bees again?
Soapy water.
Soapy water. Well, that'll also kill European bees too, I assume.
Yeah, it's a surfactant.
Okay.
Honeybees have 2 spiracles on their abdomen, and they breathe through that. So,
No, okay.
so you spray a surfactant on them, they fall out of the sky.
All right, and then they're dead.
They're dead.
And then you got to clean them up with like a shovel or something.
I got to be back.
Oh, okay. Right. Is that like a shop vac or something?
Yeah, unfortunately.
That's all right. That works. What works.
Yeah.
You know, but you call it a bee vac because that's what it's used for. All right. So I did want to give you some time to talk about the bee death that we talked about a while ago here on that, right? And you told me the gentleman's name that ended up passing away as a result of the killer bee. Randy Elliott.
A horrible, horrible thing. And he didn't have to die. It was in 2024 on August 1st. And
So we're coming up on the 2-year anniversary here pretty soon. I mean, we're about to hit summertime.
yeah. The oil company, I'm just going to say it, Matador Oil, they had a representative that called me in June of that year, and he told me about the job. He gave me coordinates, and then he said, well, excuse me.
No problem.
He was kind of evasive. I asked him twice who he worked for. First time he said Phillips 66. Second time he said Chevron. Wouldn't tell me the truth, but I had his phone number. And then I said, I knew where the job was. I said, how am I going to get paid? He goes, that's up to you. And that just pissed me off because beekeepers, we're taken for granted. I mean, out in the oil fields, I've got 4 open accounts that I've never been paid for. they just, who would want those bees? Anyway, I lit him up. I said, you contact a local pest company and you pay them, or else you're going to have fatalities. Hung up on him. And God help me, I wish I'd gone out on that. Next month, after the July parade, and I did a couple of removals, a man called me and he identified with Matador oil, and he referenced the guy that first called me, Jonathan. And I said, hold it right there. I'm going to tell you exactly what I told him. You contact the local pest control and you pay them, or else you're going to have fatality. And they sent 3 men in, 100,000 bees. Randy Elliott was DOA at the Lovington Hospital, and the 2 men with him nearly died. They suffered that trauma. You know, they were his pallbearers. I didn't know about it until the beekeeper up in Lovington called me on August 2nd. And he said, I got this call and they want me to remove this colony. And he told me where it was. I knew it was the same one. They made him do it on a Sunday. And I told him, you know, you got to CYA, you got to film all this and make sure you get paid. Because he knew it'd be hard to get him to pay him. And now, because he didn't want to be part of this lawsuit, he got deported. So I'm sorry, Juan. Did the right thing.
Right. That's a hard story right there.
And I looked at one of his pictures. And that had overwintered. That was a huge, huge colony. There's no excuse for that.
Well, very sorry for that. Rest in peace, Randy Elliott. We're almost out of time, but I did want to ask you one important question when it comes to honeybees and killer bees. My opinion. What's the likelihood that there are honeybees left in Eddy County in 5 years?
If we don't do something, there won't be any.
So follow-up question then. Actually, I have one more question, right, after you ask that. So killer bees pollinate. They don't produce a lot of honey, but they pollinate. European bees pollinate and produce lots of good honey, right?
Right.
If we allow all of the European bees to disappear and then go and kill all of the killer bees, are we beeless?
No, that's never going to happen. They're so ubiquitous. They reproduce, they abscond, they usurp good colonies. We need a concerted effort to buy good bees. I bought good bees. I've got 10 good hives in one of my colonies and 2 in another. And I just have to be on guard.
Yeah, because they could take over your colonies.
They usurp another colony at the drop of a hat.
So the European bees, guard bees, just are not strong enough for the killer
You
bees.
get 1 or 2 guard bees. I'm out there in my hives, with bare hands and no veil.
Right, with the European bees you are. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're friendly and they're helpful.
Cannot do that without taking your life in your hand. And one of these cowboys out there that say, I love my Africanized bees. See, Africanized bees basically don't get varroa mite, they don't get nosema, they don't get bentwing virus. Just
Very resilient creatures.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So we're almost out of time. Christina Mann, Honeybee Lady. So tell me how people can get a hold of you if they come across a hive that they're concerned about and they need to get removed.
My landline,
Great. What is it?
575-885-0258. Please leave a message. I promise I'll get back to you.
Yeah, you're a call screener, aren't you? That's okay. What about
I'm old.
what about your Facebook page? You're pretty active on Facebook. Can they reach out to you on your Facebook page? Tell everybody what your Facebook page is. That's how you contacted me.
Christina Hunting Lady, HUNTNLADY.
Christina Mann, Christina Hunting Lady, the Honeybee Lady, former host of the Honeybee Hotline. I'm so glad you came on. Thank you very much. It's been too long. Don't let it happen that long again, please.
Thank you.
All right, anytime.
You're listening to Community Forum on KCCC 930 AM, sponsored by Eddy County, honoring God, country, and family, thriving with industry since 1889.